Welcome to support activity 12D, working with interval that estimate the difference. Using a cell phone while driving can increase the risk of an accident. One reason for this, that using a cell phone while driving may increase the time it takes to react in various driving situations. But how much it affects the reaction time? To answer a question like this, we could estimate the difference in mean reaction time for people using a cell phone and people not using a cell phone. In class activity 10D, you interpret the confidence interval that estimated a difference in population proportions. But in this activity, you will do something similar, but you will working with the interval for population means rather than proportion. So in this case, we're gonna have basic that two population, and we're gonna try to find the difference in means or the difference between the two means, which is gonna be that mu1, which is that mean for the first population, and mu2, that the mean for the second population. So we try to get the difference, and we try to know if that difference gonna be from what number to what number, or is gonna be between what number and what number. And this two ends are gonna represent the intervals that estimate the difference. One, in the previous lesson, we used mu to represent a population mean and x bar to represent a sample mean. When we are comparing two populations, we add subscript, as we talk about that here, so to indicate which population is being referenced. So in our example, so we have actually two populations. We have a group using the cell phone, and we have another group using the no cell phone. So basically, when I did that mu, or is the mean reaction time for people who are driving using the cell phone while driving, and this is gonna be the mean reaction time for the people who are not using the cell phone while driving. Part B, what does the difference between the two means represent? So this is basic mu cell phone minus mu no cell phone. This represents the difference in the mean reaction time for people using the cell phone while driving and people who are not using cell phone while driving. Part C, the difference could be equal to 0. Yes, it is. That only case, or basically the only time that gonna happen if there is no difference. If this mean and this mean are equal, so basic the difference is gonna be 0. And basic, it means that there is no difference in the mean reaction time for people using the cell phone while driving and people are not using the cell phone while driving. Part D, what would it mean if that mu cell phone minus mu no cell phone was greater than 0? So if the difference is gonna be greater than 0, that's mean the mean for the first population is greater than the mean for the second population. So that means it would be that the mu for that group who are using cell phone while driving is gonna be greater than that mean for the people who are not using the cell phone while driving. Part E, what would it mean if the difference was less than 0? Again, that the difference less than 0, that mean is negative. That means that first mean, or the mean for the first population, is gonna be less than the second mean. And this, in this case, is gonna be, or the difference is gonna be negative. So for part F and part G, before we go for that, because we ask in here, can you give an example for an interval of possible values for that difference between the two means, or that mu cell phone minus mu no cell phone, that would indicate that the mu cell phone was greater than mu with no cell phone. So mu with cell phone, this is the mean for the first population. And basic, to give an example that the mu for cell phone that gonna be greater than the mu for no cell phone. So that's gonna be basic, let me explain that. When we interpret that difference between the two means, so basic, the interval must be basic that it has basic left and right side. So, and what we call it that end point. So the difference between the two means the interval that include this difference is gonna be has both ends, and both ends could be positive or both ends could be negative. So any interval that two ends is gonna be both, maybe there's three things could happen. You could have both ends are positive, both ends are negative, or one and one. So for this case, if both ends are positive, that's mean the mu for the first population is greater than mu for second population. If both ends always negative, that's mean mu for the first population is less than mu for the second population. And the last case, which is the two ends gonna have a different signs. So I could have the difference here, but I see that left end is negative and the other end is positive, which means that since this end is negative and this is positive, this is mean that the zero could be one of these values. And since the zero is one of these values, that means the difference here is nothing, or basic that mean that two means they are almost the same and there is no significance difference. So on part F, he said, can you find an example of interval of possible values? So any in general gonna be possible values that for the difference that would indicate that mu for cell phone, which is the mean for the first population, is greater than that mu for the second population. Again, this will happen if both ends is gonna be positive. So that's why when I can set any basic two ends, and the most important thing that mu for the cell phone minus that mu for no cell phone. So basic, we need actually to get that. So basic, so by this way, that is gonna be positive number. So it can be maybe positive half or 0.5. And maybe here is 1.75, something like that. So this is gonna be that the difference here in this case, both ends are positive, and in this case that mu cell phone that gonna be greater than the mu with no cell phone. The other one is basic that you need an example for an interval possible values that the difference between it would indicate that zero is possible, one of the possible values. And this is what happened, as we mentioned that before, that both ends must be our different sign. So it cannot be have same sign. So that's why that we get basic this hint that endpoint of this interval need to be positive or negative, or basic that one of them is gonna be positive, one of them is gonna be negative. So at this case, that mu for the cell phone minus that mu for no cell phone. So you can put here negative 0.5, for example, and here 1.75. So this is basic the way it is, and this is how we deal with the difference between the two means. We are at the end of this activity. So see you in next one. Thank you so much.